Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Here we are. Wednesday already. Can you believe it? Hump day for some people, but for us, amazing, awesome masterclass day. That means we're here for a full 90 minutes. Not only are we here for a full 90 minutes, but we've got the amazing David Cousens here with us. David, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much, Tony.
I'm glad
thank you very much for covering for me last time.
Oh, mate, you are more than welcome. And I'm sorry you got poorly, and I'm glad you're feeling better now.
Yes, I'm much better now. Thank you very much.
That's good. Well, let me just do a little bit more housekeeping before we find out what you'll be doing with us today, David. So, first of all, if you're watching on YouTube, that's fine. You can watch on YouTube if you like. But the thing is, it's not really the chat you're looking for on YouTube. Nobody monitors that. In fact, nobody lets you chat on it. It just doesn't work. So come across to behance.net/Adobe Live, where you can get involved with our fabulous community who are here already. I'll just give a shout out to a few of them. Kirsty Hepworth burst in today. There we go. Our lovely Emma's there. Belated happy birthday, Emma. There we are. So her birthday. Andreas is here. Guten Tag. Sandrine is here. Bonjour. Oliver's here. What you mate? There you go. See, multilingual. Steve's here as well. Kia ora, Steve. There you go. New Zealand. Steve's watching from New Zealand. Can you believe it? Amazing. Who else we got? We've got Stuart. We've got so many people. Angus is here. Oh, there you go. All the good stuff, all the good people. Remember, in the chat, this is where you can ask your questions, and I'll do my best to get them dropped in to David as we go. So, David, what are we going to be doing today?
We are going to be looking at how to use Photoshop to make comics.
Ooh, I like the sound of it.
With specifically, I used to do this a very old-fashioned way. I used to do it with old pen and paper, and it used to be stuff like this, which I don't think have
yes.
to do that.
I'm
loads of thumbnails, and I had multiple problems with this because one, you waste a lot of time doing it, and often when you've got too many pages, you forget what you're actually looking at. So there's super time, and I'm always looking to ways to make things more efficient. Yeah, and Photoshop kind of really made sense to me. So what I'm going to do today is after I'm going to do a little primer to get, because not everybody's going to be up to speed on what we're looking at, how comics work,
and who you are indeed. So they'll need to.
I know I have. That's very true. I just assume everybody knows me.
No, I asked you the wrong question. Really, I said, "What are we going to be doing today?" La la la, and then it was my fault, my bad, not yours. Yes. So we'll find out a bit more about you and a bit more about what you do. So probably because I mean the thing is we've known each other for quite a while. Yes. I know that you're an amazing comic book artist, and well, you so many things. You are a man of many strings to his bow in a similar way to I am. You're David Cousens, the illustrator, David Cousens, the artist, David Cousens, the actor, David Cousens, the dad, David Cousens, the backing dancer for Madonna, not on the same troupe that I was in, but again, there you go.
Did different tours.
Different tours, absolutely, yes. But there you go. Yes. So, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit, perhaps a good idea, really, because we dived in because we know each other so well.
Yes. Yeah. Well, hello everybody. My name is David Cousens. I've been an illustrator now for about 15 years.
Wow.
Seems scary to think that already. I've done work for people like Adobe, Apple, the BBC, Nickelodeon, loads of these different people. Many years ago, I started off in print. I did a lot of stuff in magazine tutorials back in the day before YouTube was a thing. And then gradually moved across through editorial stuff. And the last couple of years, I decided to shift gears and focus on something which I've always loved, but always been a bit afraid to do, which was comics. And so that's kind of where I'm operating from now.
Yeah. So you've got a project on, I think, called Falling, right? That's the
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that expanded. I fell into a classic trap that everybody falls into when they decide to make their first thing. So they think of a story, and then it becomes epic. And you world build, and suddenly you've got factions and religions and magic and all kinds of things going on. And it was huge. So I thought, okay, but it's getting a bit too much because otherwise I was going to be drawing on it for years before I could show anybody anything because it was like quite plot heavy. So I then went back to, okay, make a smaller story. And that because I've done so much of the world building. So the smaller story was still too big. And so I made like a tiny, small comic strip based on one tiny aspect of it. And that will start to be shown soon once I've got enough to show in a row to show stuff consistently.
Yeah, I must admit, I've been watching because every now and then you do a little update, and I enjoy looking at those updates and seeing what you're doing, and also when you actually talk about your techniques and how you're responsive to certain things. So I remember, for example, maybe about a year or so ago, you watched a talk by somebody else that they were talking about creating libraries of objects. Yeah, so things that you had in the background, and you actually started talking about how you were doing that and showing some of those things, which was very, very interesting, really.
Yeah, well, actually, I still do that. It's very, very useful. I still, even actually, one of the comics I'm going to show today, because I'm going to go over a few things. One of them, I actually did create like a whole PSD with just versions of this guy's helmet because he was wearing the same helmet. It was need to change, and so then it was just like smart object, drag and drop and change. And there's a lot of time saving ways which are really useful when you've got like a large comic to work on.
Yeah, those kind of approaches, having that sort of stuff and having them in one PSD makes things easier, especially if you're going to go forward to HTML5 animation, for example, because you can create a sprite sheet. So you're only seeing a small segment of something and replacing it.
Yes.
Which is really, really handy. So, okay, right. Well, there we are. Now we all know who you are, David. My bad.
Hi, everyone.
Let's get in and see some stuff. Right. So in Photoshop, yes?
Yes. First of all, what I want to do is just to go over a little bit of Comics 101. So yeah, we won't jump straight into stuff. So apologies, people, if you know this. A lot of people won't. So hopefully you'll find something useful from it. So your traditional comic is kind of runs a new layer like this. You read them like, let's get a nice red. You read them from, hello? Mixer brush. There we go. This is a great start. This is going very, very well.
No, that's okay. But it's from left to right, top to bottom is where you're going with this, right? Which throws you really out when you first start reading manga as well. But this is the thing. It's like when you show some people comics, they just see multiple images and like, what on earth is going on? So you'd start like, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In the West, we read it from left to right. Yeah. So you go 1, 2, then you jump down to the next one, 1, 2. Yeah. It's flipped in the East, so manga stuff goes the other way around. Yeah. And it's the same with this one. You go from panel 1, your establishing shot, panel 2, and then down, 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 down. Now, that's all very good, and it's very nice, and I'm not taking it away from these artworks because they're classics. But there are some other ways to do things which comics offer over, say, normal illustration. And I say this with love because I am an illustrator, I've been for years. But for a long time, I just had one single space to play with illustration. Whereas comics offer a nice extra thing in that you can change the format, which is the only medium you can really do that in. Yeah. So on here on my screen, you can see... Yeah, it's well done straight away. Yeah, this is from Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. We've instantly got a normal kind of traditional widescreen that you might see at the cinema. But then he plays with, now a lot of, if you younger viewers might not remember, these are TV. These are like what TVs used to look like. Television shapes. Yeah. I know. It's so old fashioned. They're like 4x3. Cathode ray tube. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were much heavier to lug around.
Yes.
So you had so you've got they've already started to play with the panel border, so you can see that these are TV. If I move my notes to the top, that'd be better, wouldn't it? There we go.
Yeah.
Let's clear those. And you've got an extra thing of like they're dealing with the sound here, so the sound's coming over and across. We're not going to cut. But what they do then is what they can do is you can control things like the height. Now, what this does is it controls your emotional reaction to it. So with this panel here, you see this is again from Dark Knight Returns. This is Bruce Wayne falling down. So instead of having like a normal wide screen, which isn't going to work to show that, we've got like a really long, narrow, thin panel. So your eye follows. Your eye follows down here.
Yeah, gives you a real sense of the fall. Absolutely.
And then again, we've also played with the narrow thing. You can see he's still falling down here, down the pit, but you've got all the sound is compressing down on him. So compositionally, this sound is really squeezing, putting the pressure on him in the bottom half of the image, rather than it just being central. And then, for example, here, we've got these four here. This is breaking down the moment, so it's more slow, because you can have one. If I just show you a quick thing, move that. If I show you how time in comics works, we can have, if we say we're doing like, there's a good example of the rabbit and the hare. Sorry, the tortoise and the hare. The rabbit and the hare wouldn't be very good. Okay, so for a hare, we're talking, it's just a very quick, done. That's one quick panel. But for a tortoise, because it would take so long, you would have multiple panels of it taking its time.
Yeah, and take the intervals.
And so even without me drawing anything, you already can see like how comics impact, like how you can choose what's going on with the experience with it. Okay, so that's that briefly. Again, with time, this is Mike Mignola who did Hellboy.
Hellboy, yeah.
His stuff is absolutely gorgeous, and he was like a master of building up atmosphere. And so we've got it's really slow. You've got all these extra panels to read, and they're all just like tiny things of photos, and you're looking through, and it's kind of creepy. If you can imagine like slowly walking through in a film,
the things you would notice.
Yeah, that you'd suddenly have this camera slowly panned across. And he was very, very good at adding all these slows. It just because otherwise a quick action panel would just be one big thing.
Yeah.
So he really slows everybody down, and it's has a lovely kind of atmosphere to it. That's that for that one. Right now, we can see going on the other side. We're talking like super busy and energetic spreads. And so we've got here, this is the Star Wars manga, the adaptation of the very first film. And they've actually flipped it for the English market. So it actually does work here left to right still, but originally it's all the other way. But you see here, we've got loads of speed lines, everything's going crazy, and it's all very, very manic. You've got sound effects going all over things. But then you can also, if we just see this image here, this is the start. It's all very, very calm. Static panels, and then you've got you've got the backgrounds are in there in place, and then suddenly we switch to the Obi-Wan spoilers for a very old film now. Obi-Wan doesn't make it.
That was only in 1977. There will still be people that haven't seen it.
I know somebody's going to be, what? No, Obi-Wan, I didn't finish it. And so with this, we've got nothing. There's no background at all. It's completely just white space. Just to show this is the important thing, and then you just close in on the reaction, and they use this panel as a break to show him falling down, and so it's more interesting compositionally. And this is kind of where I'm going to head. And again, we got more action with the compactor scene, so everybody's falling down. Another vertical panel, really making use of that space. And again, it's going down. Lots and lots of action stuff there. Bring these up.
Early on, by the way, that first, sorry to interrupt your flow,
go for it.
That the first 2 pages you had up, the one on the right was the Spirit? The Will Eisner.
No. The very first one was Watchman.
Of course. Yeah. I missed the happy badge in the hand there. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I tried to pick. I think Watchman's very famous 9-panel grid, but I also knew that there wasn't much that you want to share with the Watchman necessarily for certain audiences.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so there's sensitivity on that one.
Yeah.
So where are we? Okay. So looking at other people's artwork now, there's a guy called Sean Gordon Murphy. Very recently did a Batman White Knight, which has broken all kinds of records. This is his work from his own personal project, which is called Punk Rock Jesus. And why I picked him is one, like his art's brilliant, so I probably shouldn't follow that. His layouts start to get more interesting. So we've got here, this is like a traditional, like pretty traditional layout. Although he's starting to break things up by, if I zoom in here, too far. You see, there's just one tiny little panel which says twang, which just shows he's tied a rope to somebody, and then it's pulling them off. And then he's playing with space here. So this is like really slow moments, this long, and showing the distance between the people. And then he starts to, his layouts get a bit more interesting as it's going on. I think as he's getting comfortable in the project, because we've got a nice vertical space here, and then lots of, it's black, but the white space, which just circles around the cross, and it shows the isolation of the character. And then his work kind of furthers on as well, which slightly grown out panel. So again, he's like bringing this character's jumping off a building. She's okay, don't worry. But we've got it's compressing her here. So we've got all of this side here is just pushing to really show the bad situation she's in.
Yeah.
And again, we just got more nice layout. This one I really like because you can see he's starting to experiment, and it's going more chaotic now. And so one leads into there, and it's a crash, and he's looking around, and it's all connected, and the images are starting to blur into one another, and it's interesting way of doing stuff. Now this is what started to inform my version of comics. This is why I started to go away from the typical 6 or 9 panel grids.
Yeah,
it's this image on the left here, which is by an Canadian artist called Chris Pacharlo. No, that's not going to. That'll zoom okay. When I first saw this, you know, I don't know. You probably had this, Tony. You see like a certain piece of artwork, and it like sets something off in your head. Like yes. A bomb goes. You're like, oh my god, this is really something different, and you just study it and look and look and look. I would have been about 16, I think, when I saw this, and this like changed everything for me, because suddenly you had this comic where the panels are going down and around and crunching down, and then it's just chaos as everything falls down. And there's an important part that this character actually slightly stands out more than the others, so this panel's more important. And that really got me thinking, and so I started to follow his work, and then he'd follow on with this, which again it almost follows a normal structure of the grids, but you've got grids which come off the bottom, and then all of these the bubbles, which was an element which is going entirely through the whole book, and you've got a little frog on there for no reason. It's just there for fun. And so this
French. Very French. Yeah. That's the kind of thing you find in French comics a lot.
Yeah, and it's so much fun. Yeah, to find this kind of traditional Marvel comic was something really interesting. And you got about 12 pages in before you found out one of the characters was blowing bubbles on an aeroplane, and that's what everything was coming from. You just saw these bubbles. Like, what on earth's going on here?
Linked narrative, like it.
Yeah, and then eventually he did this, which opened up the first page of one of the Generation X issues, and he's got written around here. It's really small, but it says, "This page is a selfish indulgence on my part, and there's absolutely no relevance of what happens within." So there are no characters on a giant frog, but he's drawn it, and this level of fun was really appealing to me. I was really taken with this, and then here's some more of his stuff. So we've got a character singing, and he's breaking the panel borders with all music. And he stops there. I liked this use of you've got the whole establishing scene, rather than just taking up a standard widescreen panel, you've got it taking over the entire backdrop, if you like.
Yeah.
And then you can see what takes place within here actually is literally in front of the building. So you can instantly tell that this is taking place within this building. And then just the last example from Chris Pacharlo here, which was, it's kind of hard to read. His stuff, I love it. It's not always perfect. I'm not defending this as perfect because lots of people can't stand him. And it took me a long time to realize that these mutant frogs are jumping up. It follows down here. And then you see, because they're in silhouette, it's really hard to read that they're crunching down a tree, which all the characters are in. And then it crashes into the building in the next page. But it's still, even though I couldn't see what was going on, I still really liked it, and I was like poring over these pages again and again as a kid. Mm-hmm. Now, I have. Hold on panels. I realized I missed one. There's something I want to show you first.
Okay.
No, no, it's not there. There, here we go. Pacing. There's some. Missed one on pacing. This is by an artist called David Mazzucchelli. Yep. And this is from Batman Year One. Now this, the reason I showed this is because you've got the whole Batman origin of his parents being murdered here. So it's a classic thing. So he's at the cinema, guy pulls a gun, shoots his parents, he's there, and then that's it. And you even get just like his reaction shot. Or you could change it to Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, where you really feel everything that goes on here, because I mean, you could literally imagine this being slow motion. We're going from like one to the other, to the other, to the other, and it's really slow. You get 3 panels just devoted on Bruce's dad moving it back with his hand, and then the gun.
3 on the cartridge, yeah. So, yeah. Really slowing that down.
Yeah, so it really slows everything down. So that would play in slow motion in real life. And realistically, which the reason I went to that is because this guy's stuff is really interesting. David Mazzucchelli, then he could have been huge after Batman Year One, and he did a big thing on Daredevil as well. Yeah, Born Again. But then he did his own stuff. He started to go really experimental, because it turns out he wasn't a traditional comic artist as such. He was very much interested in art in general. And he wanted to see how he could push the boundaries. And so he made his own graphic novel, which I'd be surprised if maybe somebody in the chat will know this. This is called Asterius Polyp. And this is a very thoughtful story about loss and connection. But what he started to do was like really try to push the medium. He became really interested with it. And so like here you can see a more traditional page from it. But he is playing with the characters got off the subway, and then this has no borders at all, and it's also very lightly sketched in. And bear in mind this is the guy who did the Batman one, so he can draw perfectly well, and is no worries about detail or anything, so he's not hiding. But there's almost very, very sparse detail here, and it's all focused just on this woman, and it's the start of his journey. And he goes further. Now this, without kind of showing too much of the plot, this is about this character here, Asterios, and his wife, or the woman who will become his wife. And the conceit here is, you see based on here, it's all at a party and everybody sees themselves slightly differently. And so he's playing with symbolism, like somebody's very much constructed as symbols, somebody's more mathematical. Asterios, our main character here, is an architect, so he's made of geometric shapes.
Yeah.
And the other character, Hannah, is she's an artist, and she's very, very expressive.
I love it. It's deep.
It's superb. This whole thing is just amazing. I could speak about this for hours, which I won't do. But as you can see, as they start to talk to each other, they become mingled. And so you see, he starts to get rendering of hers, filling out his shape, and she starts to get some of his geometric lines. And then eventually they become fully rendered people. And then later on, you can see there's an argument they've had here, and so he's back to geometric shapes, and she's back to just kind of sketchy, expressive lines. And then as she starts to come around to his way of thinking. Suddenly she becomes back to she turns back to this kind of representation. And it is really, really fascinating stuff.
That is amazing. It's lovely, yeah.
And you get the same thing here. This is another argument that they have, and you can literally see her expressive side starts to come back here, and then there's an offset here. I'm not sure if it shows up, but he's coming out, and he turns more geometric. And eventually, you see that she's winning the argument. She's holding court, and then suddenly she loses it and gives up. And then there's nothing else in their room at all apart from his geometric sofa, and he's just really like cold and distant to her. Here's another random example. I will get to drawing stuff in a second.
No, we're good. This is interesting.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
This to set this up. This is about this guy here is talking about music, and he's holding court basically. And Asterios here, he's trying to show off and sound very self-important, and Hannah is being left out of the conversation, and this guy's looking for food. And so you can see that the panel where everything takes place is here, but they've intersected it, and you can see what everybody's interested in, because this section here, the overlap between them, is where they're debating music. So this section, this is the only section which is so that's what Asterios is talking about. That's what this guy's talking about here.
Common ground.
She's just in the corner being really pushed out. And this guy doesn't care. He only cares about this guy because he wants some food. so that's that there. And that's all they're talking about. And the whole book is very much like that. It's a really interesting read, and it really plays with the conventions of comics. And
so this for the chat, what's that title again, David?
This is called Asterios Polyp. It's hang on. It's this book here.
There we go.
It's this book here, and it's by David Mazzucchelli, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's really, really interesting. Like once you read it, you'll reread it. There's a lot of extra stuff to come through. It really, really pays off to look through it again. Cool. Right. That being said, let's show you how I draw stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully that was okay for everybody. It's just
that was interesting. It's got people chatting in there. So there's been people talking about different types of comics. So we're talking about one of our other guests actually, Klaus Schawinski, the storyboard artist.
Yeah.
Who has done some comics for Transformers. A few things there. So talking about Klaus, talking about Star Wars, Marvel comics. That's going back a bit. I was still at school when they were around, so that's crazy. I mean, I was in the last 10 minutes of school, but there you go. But yeah, no, a few chats, people talking about the comics they grew up with. Sandrine's talking about her school. Sandrine is French, and her school library had all the episodes of Valerian in there, very cinematic as a comic book. Norsh is saying he grew up with Hergé, Goscinny, Uderzo, Casterman. Yeah, so they were great things. Those whole things, Tintin, Casterman, all fantastic.
Some of the French stuff is, Mobius. Yeah, I love Mobius' stuff. It's so good. I went to an excellent exhibition of his artwork in Brule with one of the other hosts, one of the other Adobe Live hosts, Julia, my friend. We went to Brule together to see a Mobius exhibition, which was the first one there for a very, very long time. First one anywhere for a very long time. So yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah, anyway, this is me chatting. You draw. Me chat later. Yes, let's go to. Okay, so as we discussed, I no longer use pen and paper stuff. So my method is, let me show you this. It's just rough stuff first. What I do is I take the script, because everybody obviously sends script digitally now. So you take the script and then just literally copy and paste into these boxes the description of what's going on for a page. And if I click this, you can see both of them. Oh, I just moved it. There we go. Okay, so this is the final page. And this is what it looks like at the start. So let's move that over there. There we go. Lovely. So rather than do loads of thumbnails, I also want to make sure that the storytelling makes sense, because there's an inclination to be an illustrator, make everything look really fancy, and it doesn't read. It looks pretty, but impenetrable as far as storytelling. So to circumvent that, I do everything in little storyboard boxes first. So then you can you break down the core elements from the script, copy and paste them in, and then work out what they're going to be. And then when you're done, you take everything and move them across and compose it within the Photoshop document itself, because you can then really play with it. So you're not just going, okay, well, this kind of needs to go. You can really think, this is where it works. You can be experimental. You can try to move stuff into place. Excuse me. So, for example, you can see here, if I get it rest, I've drawn. I knew this one was digging into a spade, so I've done that. But then for the composition, I flipped it, because it then leads your eye towards the right.
Yeah.
Right inside the screen, and you can see here. So I've dragged that in there, and I moved it, and then to get a sense of the verticality of digging down, I've made the panels slightly taller than they originally were, and then this panel again has been dragged in and moved up to show her looking at the sky, and then we've got this as the main one. I was like, okay, what's the idea is, which I approached with composition. Every comic page should, this is a very image comics thing, should have like one panel that really pulls the weight. Yeah. Much like, visual harmony in a normal illustration, you have one main focal point and then other stuff you can look at as well. But for a good illustration, you want to have a proper focal point. That's the same with my approach to comics, not just mine, is that you have something which really gets people's eye. And so in this case, the digging isn't that interesting. That's just like digging. But if you have an electrical storm happening and suddenly the character's falling over in peril, that's way more interesting. So that becomes your panel, which takes over most of the page. And so that's what we do there. So
you've done a sequence of different viewpoints there as well. So in that 3-panel array there,
yes,
seem to be you're switching. So you've got a worm's eye view there in the center. Mm-hmm. So you're getting all an eye level one in the right hand side. And from the top, is that a top down? Is that a bird's eye? Almost, or a high angle?
It's higher angle looking down. Yeah. We've got it in the it's this good spot actually. It's a kind of subtle bit of storytelling in that she's starting to replace her father, who's really been through the mill in this comic. And so the dad's digging, and then he's tired out, and then you have the second panel, the daughter's digging, and he's up in the background looking at her, and then the fourth panel, it's just her. And so you're focusing on her now that she's starting to look after herself. She's taking charge and helping them rather than the other way around. Because that's not a spoiler, it's part of the big story arc in this one, is that she's starting to fend for herself a bit. And so, and then it kind of carries on there. Right, so in which case, we'll see how this goes now. I'm going to completely, let's check those out of the way. This is a new comic that I'm working on with Matt Garvey, who you can see on, not now because we're busy, but afterwards you can see on YouTube making comics with Matt Garvey, and he kind of runs this an intro to really useful for beginners, so like all the things to do and pitfalls to avoid and stuff. And he's the author of this story, which is called The Odds, which is about this guy here. He's called Bruce Gray, and he's a guy who's coasted on his luck. He's been very, very naturally lucky, and he's just coasted on it, but he's finally pushed it too far, and he's got in the hands, accidentally, he's got in the way of a mob boss, basically. And so he's in trouble. And so we're going to there we go. I'm going to try and compose one of these just as we go. Okay, so... Oh, so you have the same thing. You draw with red, don't you?
I do. Yeah, blue and red.
Yeah.
And then green as I make adjustments. So I do.
Green as well. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I switch between, but yeah, I find I did the exact same thing. I'd rather get the work done in a certain color and then finish it and buy it.
It's just because I change my mind so much. That's the thing I always have done.
Oh yeah, I mean, well that's kind of why I wanted to share this, like in Photoshop and like show because I do change. I'm like you, I change my mind all the time with stuff, and I constantly want to make it look good. What page are we on? This is page 23, so let's open up that. So that's 23. There we go.
People are asking what transform. Gareth, in fact, in the chat, hi Gareth, is asking, are they Transformers on the shelves behind you? The answer to that is yes, and he wants to know if you get a chance to let us know which ones you've got.
Oh yeah, I can tell Gareth, they are indeed Transformers. There are several. There are several there. There's all kinds of there's Transformers. I've got I'm just going to show this off quickly. I guess like IDW Optimus Prime that I made. It's a
wow
thing. No, I got stacks of stuff. I got Spider-Verse toys, Transformers, Breath of the Wild, loads of things. But it's
nice.
I'm a complete geek for all this stuff.
Oh mate, me too. Same company. No. But sorry, Gareth, you're not going to get to know all of them by name this time because we're drawing, mate. I know.
Yeah.
Emotion, but we're drawing.
Ask me on social media, and I will send you a few photos because I've got so many. There we go. Cool. So, right with this one, we've got 5 panels because Matt's a nice writer and doesn't give me too many things to squeeze in. We've got the bad guy's rubbing his hands successfully. Second one is one of his lackeys just typing away on a TV feed behind him, but he doesn't really care. Third one is our protagonist looking confused. Fourth is the bad guy looking smug. And then the fifth is the protagonist defeated, basically. He's been blackmailed into helping this guy to save his daughter. So the main panel there, I'm going to say, is the defeat of him walking off like, okay, he's been beaten. So that's where we're going to start first. So if we drag, where are we? Let's go right click, try again. And try again. There we go. Cool, all on the same layer, that's good. Okay, so let's just copy that. I'm ignoring the space because the reason why I meant to say the reason why I use boxes first off, even if I'm changing the definition, the shape after all the composition, is just because you compose better if you draw within a box. It gives you that constraint naturally, and so I recommend doing that even though you're just drawing free, because I tend to find that if I don't have a constraint, the composition tends to get lost or characters drift and things don't stay as tight as they can. So even if you're going to change it, it's a nice restriction to start with. So let's bring that one in. Let's go.
I love frames because you can break them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Constraints are good.
When you do it.
Yeah.
They are. There's nothing worse than somebody just saying, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So we're going to say this is the important one. So this is big. And this, for reference, we're talking these characters here. So we've got, that's the mob boss on the left, a guy called Locke, that's his assistant, and that's his enforcer, the big heavy guy. And that's a hero, so let's...
That looks like my brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does he? I was going to say, does he work for the mob? I thought that's not disclosed there. If he did,
no, he doesn't. No. But I mean, it's almost like a cartoon of him. So funny. I might steal that and adapt it.
Yeah. Just take it. Okay, there you go. Made something. That's right. Whoops. So get for committing a transformation. Cool. So let's say that's the big one. That's the wall of TVs. Right, so now, let's say, this one, I'm actually going to bring in the frame as well.
Okay.
Just because, let's hide the description of the sec. Just because, I don't know, that it almost feels like it deserves the frame, so let's control the whole thing in. Let's bring that. It's probably not a bad panel. So we just leave that there for a minute. I'm not sure where that's going. Roughly there. Okay. Because this thing. Now this one, I'm actually talking about changing your mind. I've got the character putting his hand up, which I drew originally. Now I don't like that. I'm looking at it, I'm thinking like, no, there's no motivated reason for him to do that other than it's a bit too cute. So we're just going to bring him in. That's what we're going to do. We're going to bring the hero in there.
See, I'd bring the arm in separately, I would, so I could just like think, switch it around, move it, change the angle, change the angle.
Let's see, let's go.
But I mean, that's just me. This is your gig, mate.
No. It's you've raised a good point. Let's play with it on a different layer because I love layer. This is the other thing with digital and Photoshop specifically, is you can't do this on paper. Back in the old days, I used to sit there. Somebody asked for a change. It was you were redrawing stuff on multiple sheets and lightboxing things and scanning stuff in. Whereas now you can just go like, yeah, you're right, Tony. Let's bring it a separate. Let's do it on a separate layer.
Well, I mean, I just resort to green pencil when I'm in that particular thing. It's just like, okay.
So let's bring that. It also helps with a border, like because I'm not going to have anything probably below this border here, but it helps to draw through. So you've got the foot there in place, his leg being crossed. I'm assuming anyone can do, because if you don't have that, you tend to make a lot of weird. No, that's the wrong thing. You make a lot of weird issues with it, and you can accidentally crop characters in weird ways. So it's always a good device to follow through, to draw through. One there. And then this one I'm not going to bring in the box because I'm not sure about the composition. But this is kind of what I mean about how the guesswork and the intuition involved. Right. Oh no, beautiful.
No, you're right.
Oh,
it'll let it resolve itself. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. We're good.
But yeah, okay. So let's fill. Well,
things happen, David. No, honestly, mate, this is part and parcel of what we're doing here. Is that things can and will go wrong.
Will.
It proves, and it just does. I mean, if you need to boot back or whatever, that's fine as well. So don't worry about all of that. But this is a thing, and it proves to everybody that we are in fact live. I'll just tell you that people are really enjoying it. Gareth is saying, "Damn, this guy is talented! Such great sketch work." He's very jealous of that, by the way. Steve's saying this is awesome. Reverb Mike's in the chat now. Hi, Reverb Mike, with his usual things. So today's thing from Reverb Mike is when we were talking about constraints and constraints being good, is the constraints are just in our mind. I love it. I'm going to strike a pose. The constraints are just in our minds.
Yeah.
Do not really exist. This is true.
That's fair. Actually, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a bit deeper than I was going to be, but yeah, absolutely.
We do like a bit of Zen on here. It's very good. David is a better drawer than me, but in a good way. There you are.
Thank you very much.
The process is not entirely linear. This is true.
No, do you know what? Yeah, go on.
No, I was just going to say that. Go on. Right, definitely you.
Okay. No, Jesus, what was I going to say? No, yeah, I do apologise to anybody because that's kind of how my brain works. It is a bit darts all over the place. This is about as structured as I get, and so I have to put these things in place to give myself some constraints to stop it getting too chaotic. But yeah, I do find that even when I'm working on just on a standard illustration, I'll draw a bit and then I go, oh, I'm a bit bored. And sometimes if I'm really bad, I'll start to color something and then I'll go back to drawing the lines. So it's my process is often like that. So this is about as organized as it gets. That's
just the nature of creativity, mate. I think we're all the same. I think we are all the same.
Oh, that's good.
In that we're all, no, I'm exactly the same. I constantly have to rein myself in. I mean, I was at work this morning at 5 o'clock. And there's some things over there that I want to play with in this studio, some paints that I want to play with. And I've had to put them so they're in a place that's difficult to reach, because the work I've actually got to do today needs to be done.
That's a good tactic, actually. Yeah, the fun distracting stuff.
My mug. I go. Oh, I think I'll just go get myself another coffee, and I'm like, tomorrow.
Yeah, they're just calling to you, the siren song.
Yeah, but that's just the way we are, mate. There's nothing wrong with that. I think also people who work in comics have the potential to be really good filmmakers, right? Because you obviously understand all of the things around framing a shot and about sequential action and about bringing that together. And of course, that's what Klaus does, really. Klaus makes storyboards to help people who don't have necessarily that visual memory or that visual acuity to be able to. That's not the word I'm looking for, but anyway, you know what I mean. So they can't actually conjure it up in their head. So it gives them things that camera operators and directors can actually work to and say, that makes a good shot. That doesn't, so on. So,
yeah, well, I mean, a good concept artist, storyboarder, I think that they're worth so much, because to do things like to compose a shot so that it's like, say somebody's under pressure, so they're completely silhouetted by people, and there's only like a tiny bit of them in this frame. So even if you don't know the conventions and like the kind of actual science behind it, the viewers still feel it, and they just won't know why. And if something's disorientating, or I mean, like how Steven Spielberg started Saving Private Ryan, that feels really, really kind of intense and visceral. And it's just because he knows how to manipulate what you're seeing on the screen. Yeah, like somebody else would have filmed that and it wouldn't have been as good. Yeah, and comics are a weird thing like that as well. That they keep you honest. Yeah, in that they do. I used to have to hide. Not have to, but it's with illustration. You can fudge something in one illustration. You don't need their perspective to be perfect or what somebody's wearing to make sense from the back. And then when you do it in comics, then suddenly it turns around and it will bite you if you don't get it sorted. Which I found that the hard way. Yeah. Okay. So
have you ever seen Hans P. Backer's book Vision?
Oh, I love his stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great book on breaking down everything in a shot. Everything. Breaks down lighting, breaks down composition.
Yeah, I've literally got
colour.
It's
I have it, but it's actually in my other studio. It's in Studio B, that one is, but at the moment. Because normally it's B over my shoulder. But
you might be the only person who's got more books than I do.
There's a lot.
I've constantly been told off for buying books like all the time. There's like just a delivery comes in, the office door opens, like another book.
There's more than 1,000 reference books in here. So
that's awesome.
In this room here, there's a good few hundred at the next at Studio A and Studio B. So there's lots, and not many duplicates.
Yeah. I can also say I'd like to just jump on a quick soapbox for anybody who's watching. Use reference. It's not cheating. Yeah. It's if you try to fake something from your memory just doesn't remember it perfectly anyway. But if you try to draw something without reference, it's not going to look quite right. And I'm not saying copy the thing. That's different. But look at reference, see how something works. There's a thing that happens a lot. I see it a lot in comics as well. People say, "Oh, you shouldn't use reference." It's like that's madness. But the more, everybody you love in art, no matter what, we use reference, and it will look better.
Absolutely. And it's not. We're not being artists in that sense. No. We are commercial artists. We are artists for money, right? We have to convey something. We have to convey it accurately, and with So it definitely isn't cheating. It is part of the process. Different if you were creating a piece of actual art.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's outside my wheelhouse. So okay. So we're saying. Right, and there's what's going on here. So the top part is all very, very balanced right now. It all feels a bit too similar. And I'm going to make him smaller because right now this is like a power thing. if you want a character to look impressive, they can be big and imposing and a low angle. But right now, he's in a bad place. He's completely out of his depth. So we're going to say, I'm going to leave space. This is another important thing. If you're making a comic, leave space for your word balloons. The
dialogue has to go somewhere.
Oh, the poor letter is the first things I worked on. There's all this lovely art, and they were like, I've got to cover some of it. I was like, I'm really sorry. So yeah, it's not being lazy. You actually are leaving stuff there for a purpose. So he's smaller there. This character, again, we've got a low angle because he's really powerful now. So we're going to make him... Do you know what? I'm going to draw it so that he doesn't even fit his frame. He's currently so powerful that he is going to be bigger than the box itself. Just nudge back, nudge back. There you go. And obviously, I would like all of this will be tightened up later. All of this will be tightened up and properly later.
No, it's good. So is your book still about? Your book, Digital Art, is that still round and about? Is that still in print? Still?
Do you know, I honestly don't know. It could be. I think it's still on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's. I think most of it's still relevant. The publisher pushed for various tutorials that were focused like on Photoshop, and we're talking iterations back. So I think a couple of things there may be a bit dated now, as far as like Photoshop can do so many more things now.
Yeah.
But a lot of it should still be fairly similar.
I still think most of it will be a solid book.
I did push for sections on composition and balance and harmony and like things like that for that reason, to make it a bit more evergreen. The book I've just finished drawing, there are 4 issues now available digitally, but I just found out yesterday morning that it's being made into a proper 188 page graphic novel. So
cool.
I was very pleased with that, because it's kind of how it's meant to be. It was written as the author wouldn't mind me saying, it's written like as a screenplay for film.
Yeah.
But it needed, and so I adapted it for him. But it's the whole thing is quite an epic story. So it's going to work well in that format. What in the chat? But what's people's? Do people have any favourite comic artists?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. So yeah, let us know in the chat who your favourite comic artists are. I used to like Brett Ewins back in the day. I also very much like Jamie Hewlett.
Yeah.
Back in and I mean this is probably, well, let's think. Would you? Yeah, you'd have been born, but you'd have been really little. Tank Girl back in the day. You know, used to be
I've got some
Deadline. Yeah. So good.
I had my initial phase when I was in my teens, where I was just reading like certain Marvel things, and that was it. And then as it's gone on, I've expanded and discovered all these amazing things that are already out there. There's loads of cool things. Okay, so for this one, I'm deciding I'm going to bring this in here.
Jeff Senior, Gareth Hanks, like Jeff Senior. Yeah. Ian Gibson, Scotty Young.
Yeah, I love Scotty Young. He's another one. He's
Greg Staples.
Yeah.
Laurie Petty.
She was Tank Girl, wasn't she? Laurie Petty was Tank Girl. Yeah. Reverb Mike saying he remembers the movie. Yeah. And
one of my daughters picked me up 21st Century Tank Girl a little while ago. Titan did I can actually see it from here, thinking about it. Titan did David, your book is on the same shelf as Tank Girl, just about 10 or 11 down from there. There you go. We go. There's David's book.
Yeah.
There you are. And there's Tank Girl, 21st Century Tank Girl. So awesome.
Good stuff.
So edgy. Yeah. So for the I think it was Melissa who was asking a moment ago, Michelle who was asking. You now know what it looks like as well. So she's just asking for the title of the book. Steve is saying there's a famous and old restaurant in LA, Musso and Frank, where actors in the 40s would get free meals by dining in as a famous guest. Wow. Well, there you go. You're welcome, Michelle. Yeah, I think this is a good book. I think it's still. Yeah.
I haven't looked at it for a long time. But
yeah, it's a good book. Yeah, I think so. Just having a peruse of it right now. Well, actually, I'm not really having a peruse. I'm having a browse, because a peruse is actually a detailed analysis. So I want to correct my English. It's a common mistake. People go, I'll peruse it later. And that, if you actually mean that, of course, you should be poring over it in great detail. It just sounds so casual.
Yes. yeah, it does. Yeah.
Julia's here. Hello, Julia. We were talking about you just a little while ago. So my friend Julia, who I went to see at the Möbius exhibition with in Brule.
I'm very jealous, Julia. I'd love to go to that.
It was very, very good. It was spectacular.
He was another artist who I kind of slept on and suddenly discovered, and it was like, oh my God. And then you suddenly realize how many things he's influenced.
Oh man, hugely.
And you just see everything in The Fifth Element. You think, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Like everything.
Yes. The do you ever go to Angoulême?
No, I've never been.
So there's a comics thing at Angoulême. I've not been either. I was hoping to go last year, but then things just went. Something happened. I can't remember what it was now, but there was something last year that kept everybody indoors. I think it was snails.
Okay.
I think we had like a massive version of snails and everybody would stay in.
Okay. Can't think of anything that may have impacted me last month.
Yeah. More snails.
It's a really big one. It's not like that frog I showed earlier. People were riding it as they went past.
Yes. Julia's saying we'll go next year. We will. That would be fantastic. Time to learn French. Yes. We'll take Emma with us. Emma can do all of that stuff. Emma can be our translator.
Cool. So
Daryl says, I think it was raining last year. Oh yeah, it was.
Good. We have ideas like that, so it's not
biblical. Anyway, go on, carry on. I'm sorry.
Okay, so no, I just said no, it's absolutely fine. So there were a few things I changed. I had this wall of TVs here, which I couldn't do the old Frank Miller Square ones as cool as that would look, so I've gone for widescreen ones. And I pushed it up beyond the border, so it's going right to the bleed, because I thought it really sold the scale of it. This thing is just an enormous wall of stuff, and it just shows how big and powerful they are. I've cropped this one in because in the script it specifically mentioned the gesture of the bad guy was rubbing his hands together with satisfaction, and so I thought, okay, well let's cut out the extraneous stuff. Let's go straight into that. I've made this panel smaller. This one got bigger, and then this one, my instinct was right the first time, which I was kind of hoping my instinct would be wrong on it, so I could then say, like, okay, no, that didn't work, and then move on. So, and then what I would do would be to just briefly to show, like process-wise, I would then bring that down and do a second pass, like straightening things up and working out how it looks. And sorry, I would occasionally pause when I draw it. So
No. Do you know, there's a thing, and I think what people really appreciate, David, is that it's the opportunity to watch a master at work. That's the thing. You don't have to talk all the time, mate. It's all good. That's what I'm here for. They bring the gobby one on so you can have as many pauses as you need.
Do you know what? I think everybody should follow this format. like realistically, it's to take that pressure off, because drawing and speaking at the same time is not fun. Well, not easy, I should say. It's not fun. But so
Gareth is actually asking, how did you get started, and did you do an illustration degree or a fine art course? I think you did illustration, didn't you? With the other mighty pencil people.
I started off. I did do an illustration degree, but I did not learn anything during it.
No, that's not uncommon.
I wouldn't. If somebody were to ask me, was it worth it, I would say no, other than the fact that it introduced me to my wife inadvertently. And so I couldn't affect the timeline now with 3 kids. But I did an illustration degree. I did nothing for a few years because I was, to be quite honest, I was afraid. I was afraid of trying and failing, so I just did nothing. And then I did, traditional illustration for years. I started off just doing some magazine work stuff, joined the Mighty Pencil. And then, work just kind of snowballed out. I got particularly lucky. I got, it's kind of rarity now, but I managed to get, off the back of, there's a digital art magazine, I think it's called Digit. And I just had some artwork in there.
Yeah, I remember that.
I happened to... That's it. Yeah, I happened to draw some Spartans for a friend. It was like he was really big on Spartans, and I drew that. And this book commissioner at Kingfisher saw it, and I was asked to do a test. And off the back of that test, they gave me a 4-book deal. And so suddenly I was like, right, I'm doing this full time. So that was amazing.
This is going to be my gig.
Yeah. And since then, it's I didn't catch what the person's name was who asked the question, but are they doing
Gareth?
Gareth.
Yeah.
It's what stage are you at, Gareth? Which I asked that you can answer straight away.
Motion designer.
Oh, cool.
He's a motion designer who is illustration curious. He's a very talented guy, actually.
You'd have to be a motion designer.
Yeah. Angus is saying you're a great guest, David. He's really enjoying this and thinks another one would be in order. I agree.
Oh, thank you. That's very, very kind of you.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
So Klaus, who mentioning Klaus Stravinsky again, but Klaus, I've got a standing promise for Klaus when he comes over to the UK next. I'm going to take him around to a couple of different places, and I'm also going to rope in Dan Mumford.
Nice.
As well, and I think I'll have to rope you in also.
Yeah, gladly.
Maybe
After the last year.
Get Tigsy in as well.
Tina
Tooley, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Mind you, she's like so crazy busy.
Oh, I know. Every time I speak to her, she's somewhere else in the world.
Yeah, she is super busy because she works at so many different places. She's working at Central St Martin's. She's teaching occasionally as an ad hoc at Central St Martin's. She is working with, oh man, that escapes me right in a minute. Big New York agency. I'll think of it in a moment. It will come to me. But she's doing all sorts. And Gareth's saying, "Can I live stream that get together, please?" No, because we're all going in a van. We're all going in the minibus. We'll be chatting and being Larry and doing swears and all of that stuff. We can't do that, Gareth.
You wouldn't swear, would you, Tony?
No. Well, not like I did when we were in the green room, anyway. But it was funny.
No, I can vouch. Tony's a very nice person off camera too. That sounds very suspicious now, doesn't it? Yes.
Your £100 is on its way to you. There you go. Just PayPaling David £100 right now. Done.
So you'll destroy those blackmail photos, yeah?
Absolutely. Well, 2 of them.
Damn. Got me again.
Do you remember when we first met? We met in a coffee shop in Swindon.
Yeah.
Yes. We did, and did some drawing. We did.
We did, and you gave me a crash course on using apps, which I then went to explain in great detail about 2 weeks later.
Yeah, you did really well, though. You're brilliant. So, and when I say did really well, though, it's because I was showing you how to do it. So you managed to do it, and it's just you made sense of all the other stuff. But there you go.
Yeah, so, it's incorporated into my workflow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a decision here, which is this is good. This is kind of what I was hoping would happen as I did this. So I don't think this guy should be butting over this.
Okay.
I don't think he should be overlapping it, because I tend to say that it can be overused. But I tend to say it. So say it's a big action shot, and we go wham, and like somebody's punching. Fine, it's the punch is so big it breaks out the panel. Absolutely great.
Yeah.
But this is just them walking off. And although this guy is absolutely huge in comparison to the other guy, I don't know, that doesn't feel quite right. Let's try. I'm going to quickly scribble in the TV stuff now, so I've got scale for it.
Yeah.
Well, you can see my perspective lines up the side, and they're all going to go.
Yeah.
It's all going to be good. So bang, 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 like that. This is a wall of TVs, as you can probably tell.
So those are the things I almost always do first in blue. Those are the things I do in blue before I actually draw in red. That's been my way of doing it.
Also, no, I don't like that. That feels too. Maybe. So, sorry, the reason I didn't like that, a lot of this is on instinct, and so I'm trying to explain why I didn't like this. Something about this, if I hide that bottom panel, that feels a bit small. Like you can see too much of the ceiling, which it's not important to see the ceiling. It should be more on them, and he doesn't feel. Okay. There you go. That was terribly explained. Let's shift this back out.
No, he's definitely gone 16:9 on the TVs, James. James is just saying that the TV's 43.
Good catch,
Tim's remembering our first stream when we met at the freehand monorail.
Yeah. The freehand monorail.
Yeah, and of course, Tim, you're coming as well. You're coming over as well. So we've got a whole thing, 2 or 3 days of crazy stuff.
Try chopping his head.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, that's not going to work. Okay.
No.
Shrink them a touch, but leave.
Or, well, I mean, it depends on how much isolation and what you need to go in the panel just immediately above it. Would going, if you're going to go big, would dropping that frame slightly, the one that you're currently working on, dropping it down slightly and going bigger. I'm only thinking of the screens being sort of coincident with the panels above. Would that work? I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Let's see. Do you know what I could do? This is giving a very real representation of
No, but this is good. This is the stuff. This is what.
Well, do you know what? It's funny. When I first did this, hopefully all you live stream viewers appreciate it. I was going to do a much more finished version, so all the line work could be really neat, like looking more like this, like this kind of finished up, and just move it around. And I thought, no, let's show people what it's actually like. This is the stage I would do this at, and it's a disorganized mess.
No, but this is the important stuff. Boiling it down to its simplest element, the colouring in bit.
Yeah.
At the end is small beer once you've done this bit. This is if you took that 80, that people talk about that 80-20 rule, about 80% of the effort going in. At this stage,
that's very
this is where it really is, I think.
Yeah, this is what separates. This is where the extra effort pays off. This is like the iceberg principle, like the bit you see at the top and everything underneath.
Yeah.
all the works underneath. But this is what people will hopefully respond to when it's finished. So do you know what? I'm going to move that, let's stagger it more. So I've shrunk that down. It's going to go there.
Okay.
So we've got a zigzag kind of thing going on with the composition. An important thing here as a note. So if anybody actually is going to draw comics, we want people to know it's there to there to there. So can I turn?
I'll tell you what I use a lot, even though I'm constantly breaking it, but it just gives me an idea of the proportions of the page.
Yeah.
Is I use layout grids a lot. So I use, in the guide layouts in Photoshop, if I'm working in Photoshop, I use guide layouts, and I've set myself up a preset that just does me a rule of thirds on whatever document I've got, because it's percentage based.
Smart.
And that works really quickly.
I've got an action which I always do for like the page setup and stuff, like automatic bleeds, which is a guide layout. So
yeah,
it's super useful stuff. I think with this, let's try tilting it. Let's give it a Dutch angle.
And this is this of course, that's it. This technique,
go.
That slightly off angle camera, always to give a bit of unease to everything, so, to tell you that something is not quite right.
There we go. And now I don't mind him breaking the panel either. There we go. This is good. This is exactly the kind of thing this is what happens with page composition. It took a little bit backwards and forwards, and apologies if it's a bit boring. But having that tilted, that's perfect, because then it's like Tony's already said, if any kind of like off kilter angle, called a Dutch angle in movies, it makes people uneasy, and it's because your brain loves geometric shapes and it loves everything being all kind of ordered, and so we're not in an ordered world anymore. Like he's literally having his world turned, and so there we go. That quite works well for that one.
Yeah.
So let's play with another.
That's good. Angus is saying the top left character's energy and eye line is super strong. So much power with a limited line. Really appreciating that.
Oh, thanks, Angus.
Yeah. And Norsh is saying, what's the difference between comics and mangas? I'm not so sure there's well, the differences are that Western comics are read left to right, right to left. Mangas, there's a particular style that fits with mangas, but essentially they both fall into comics, really. They are both sequential story art.
Yeah, do you know, I feel like I'm going to lose some comic cred for not knowing this answer like down pat. I know I know that there's a production difference. I know that the manga stuff tends to be made really fast, like absurdly fast, and so they will divide stuff up. So you've got a character artist, a background artist, and it's a lot more production line. They'll get a lot of stuff out black and white, and it'll be quick. So nobody produces stuff at the speed they do. Whereas it's more Western comics, I guess. They are more tend to be like a smaller group of people, and we make them as fast as we can, but they're not always that quick. Yeah,
no, it is tricky. I mean, the thing is that they have a volume of people working as well, which is interesting. They're valued much more, comic book artists, than, I mean, here it's changed. It's better than it was.
Yeah,
back in my day. But that also entire softwares, and this is something I really wish Photoshop had. So have you ever come across Clip Studio Paint?
Yes.
Ever come across that? Yeah. So Clip Studio Paint has a layer system for mannequins, so you can bring in these mannequins and pose them, so you can develop quick reference to work directly over the top of. And I just think that with Adobe, owning that whole Mixamo thing and now the substance stuff, and Photoshop being able to cope with 3D, if they couldn't do some sort of cut down, rigged characters inside of Photoshop that you could use.
I don't want to run it because I haven't updated it and I don't know if the plugin's going to crash. But I've got a Photoshop plugin called Pixel Squid, which I think Adobe's brought up now, actually. They have, like I said, I don't want to run it because it's not going to be updated. It's literally an open panel. Unfortunately, it's not a true 3D manipulation, but it's like a load of photos of something that's been scanned from multiple angles. And so you can like drag it around to a limited degree, manipulate it into place. And so you've got it to work. So that works. And I would love it if Photoshop had more integration like that. Because I don't want to talk too much about the competition, but I have used some of their 3D stuff, and it's almost seamless. To be able to drag something in, like split around and move it.
I've used that plugin before. I used it last time I used it was for something with X-Wing fighters, Star Wars X-Wing fighters.
I used it for an R2-D2 thing.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things I thought R2 looks the same from every angle. There's nothing I can bring to him artistically. my lines are going to magically create something that isn't already there.
No, God, I haven't drawn R2-D2 since. In fact, Tina Tooley was there when I was doing it. It was live, and it was it was at BET, the Education Technology Show.
Yeah,
I was demoing for Wacom, and I was doing a Jedi and R2. It was a female Jedi and R2 in front of one of the Jawa scrap.
I'd love to
tanks. Yeah. The teeny.
What teeny?
So Gareth's asking, and the answer to this, Gareth, I would suppose is depends what the content is, but how long does it take you to fully complete a page? You know, if you could put a number on a page roughly.
You know what? It depends on how much of a time crunch you're on. To be honest, because you then if the deadline's more forgiving, then you have more time to play and toy with angles and do your research and stuff. And other times you've just got to like really hit the ground running. Because for example, this page here, I probably did the roughs and the lines within about 2.5 hours, which is like an insane rate, like realistically. And it was like I was working quite a lot of time to get this like sorted quickly. I lose some of the production time. I gain some production time, I guess, because I pay for somebody to flat color it. So if I show you, let's start killing off some of this stuff here. Let's start showing. Hiding.
So Julia's saying, amazing how much work goes into a comic compared to how fast it will be read. But I think the thing is, Julia, we all know it will be burnt into your mind. There will be some comic book frames that you won't be able to shake.
That's true. That's a very, do you know what? That's a lovely point to make, Tony.
Well, do you know the one? I can tell you the one that sticks with me and has done for. What would it be? It'd be actually, it'd be a long time. Is actually from Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. On there, there's the image of him on horseback when all of the city's raging in battle. The sons of Batman and all of that stuff is going on, and in it, of course, he's a much older man, you know. And there's just a moment where he's on the horse and he's sunk. His frame is just
very good,
on the horse, and then the horse is rearing up again and he's charging. And those frames burnt into my memory. Burnt into my memory.
That's very true. That's very true. Okay.
Angus is asking how much you're thinking about rendering and lighting at this stage, if those things are.
More than I used to, actually, Angus. That's a good point. Until about a year ago, I used to do it. You'd never see any black line like this. I used to draw everything very like animated style. And so I used to think about lighting and stuff less. It'd be much more just volume and weight and composition and stuff. But there are moments now when, like, see, like his coat is completely in shadow, and so is most of his chest, and she's obscured there. I think about shading a bit more now, and it is because eventually you just keep hitting the same problems. And you think, okay, if I think about some of this now, I save myself a problem down the line. And although I've got a lot of cell shading here, which, like for example, on that there, this is actually less than I used to have. There's not much shading on, say, the character here. You've just literally got what's been obscured. Whereas when I first started the book, I would pay a lot more. There'd be a lot more rendered shading and stuff. And again, it's down to how much time you have. And so you start to think of things more elegantly, and you see things like if Mike Mignola could turn around and just go, okay, this is going to be entirely black, and this is good, then it's like, yeah, absolutely, that's the smart thing to do. So what the rough process would be, let's hide the backgrounds, because the backgrounds come in last. No. Somewhere I've got a kind of Aurora Borealis logo which I've painted in there. So but yes, so you have the lines. Really, you have the lines. The flats will be done. I get those like sent back to me once I pay somebody to do that, and then they come back, and then I change them a bit so they fit. Then I do the shading. And then we're talking. Then you start to bring in the effects, which here we go. So let me bring back the background first. The background will be done first. Then for this story, there's tons of dust, like absolutely tons. So the atmosphere. This is way more than would normally go for any kind of level, but it's part of the plot. But it does
so important though, particles.
Yeah, they make a difference, even just subtly. When you just add them in, that's one of those things. I'm fast. I'm not like the fastest artist. I am fast, but I will take the time to do those things like the particles just to push that extra level of finish to it. Then I'll add some atmosphere, And so then I've got just a small overlay layer here. Overlay, it's an overlay layer just to bring, just to darken
vignetting.
To vignette it to bring people's attention. And then I've got, I either use gradient maps or photo filters. And this one is it's literally just yellow set to 39%. And the trick there is that it completely unifies everything in the image. So you feel it as one place. Because a lot of times, especially with comics, you can get characters, you've got garish costumes, and like one color does not sit with the other and stuff. So if you put over some kind of either gradient map or a photo filter, then it really changes everything. Or even, let's have a play. Let's go color lookup. Color lookup. There we go. So we just load in a LUT. Okay, let's go. Chris Warren didn't change it that much. See, like there, you've completely changed everything. If we lower it down, pick horror blue. No, that didn't do much. So yeah, there's kind of experimentation, but you can really change the feel of things really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course it's a gift that you can do this in seconds. This would have been impossible back in the day. You just couldn't have done this that way. You would have to have gone at it with that intent. It's just so much more freedom of expression. It's really
it's like this background. You physically wouldn't be able to do it. It's only with Photoshop brushes. I've got some which do paint kind of Aurora Borealis kind of smudges with the brush shape. And so you just paint the stuff in. And then that's even faster than finding a photo, which I may have done in the past, like try to get a photo, manipulate it so it doesn't look too photographic. But now you can just kind of go like, no, here we go, just going to smush, and then you go. Digital has completely, like Photoshop made everything so much faster.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a double-edged sword because now people expect it to look absolutely amazing. But no, it's like couldn't do without it. I really couldn't.
So we've got just about 4 or 5 minutes left. I can't believe how quickly today has gone. People are really enjoying this, saying it's a proper masterclass, which is really good. Even more amazing than an amazing Spidey comic. There's Reverb Mike. But to the audience, don't forget that it doesn't have to end here. You can go along and chat in our Discord. Tim's just going to pop that into the chat right now. Boom. There it goes. So you can come along, chat there. People chat day, night, and all sorts. And you can talk about this. And don't forget to look at more of David's stuff. So he's on Instagram at David Cousens. That's right, isn't it? Just that's
yes,
your handle.
yeah,
sure
yeah. All of my social media is David Cousens.
Yeah,
which is with an E.
Yes, it is. It is indeed.
I need to get into that Discord actually.
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah.
Well, Tim's
I was gonna grab my phone. My phone's set up,
he can send that on to you as well. So I mean, we've got, like I said, we've got 5 minutes or so. If you wanna drop anything else in, I'm not winding us up. I'm just dropping those things in before I forget at the end.
Cool. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just trying to think of 5 minutes. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Or I don't know.
No, I think we've caught most of them as they go. Angus is saying this has gone too quick. Let's have another session. Julia's saying yes, please bring him back. Well, I'm almost certain that will happen. Gareth said he nearly didn't come along. He skim read it and thought it said Comic Sans illustration. Boom, boom. Gareth is here all week. Now for bingo. And Steve saying now he's got to wait 3.5 hours till the San Francisco stream comes on. There you go. Are you just napping in between the streams, Steve? Is that how it rolls for you? Just like, oh, that stream's done. I'll catch a quick nap before the next one.
Read some comics. Read some comics, Steve.
Read some comics. Yeah, good effort.
I've got shelves of the things.
What I've got on the side here is I've got 2 things that are waiting to be read. One is Batman the Three Jokers, and the other one is Harleen, which I don't know if that's surfaced over on this side of the water yet. There's 2 really dark Harley Quinn.
Is that the Stefan? I can't think of his name. The guy who made Sunstone.
Possibly. I'm just trying to see if I can grab that really quickly.
I don't want to try to attempt to say his name. I'm going to get it wrong.
Yeah, no, me either. So I don't know. But anyway, Harleen is out there. But yeah, Batman the Three Jokers is the one I'm going to look at next. Interesting.
The Batman White Knight's very good.
I haven't done that one yet, so I'll drop the thing. So I don't get time to read anything these days other than books around work.
Do you know what? I have to. If I sat down and read everything I've got, I wouldn't be doing anything for 3 years. But so I'm stealing time these days. When I was like a kid, well, even like say 15, I'd be sort of reading the same comics again and again and again. And now I've got so many good things which I've yet to read, which are just like sat in bookshelves.
That's how it happens. It just catches you out like that way. Candleman, that was a thing I was reading.
I don't know.
Years ago online, Candleman, that was quite good. I think that was done down in Bristol, I think. If I remember correctly. Right. That was interesting. Quick question from Gareth. Is it harder to draw robots or humans? Depends on the robot, I guess.
It depends on the robot.
Yeah.
I could probably draw Optimus Prime in my sleep.
Gundam style, probably.
Yeah. I could probably draw Optimus Prime in my sleep. And the Gonk droid from Star Wars is pretty simple. But no, I've been on purpose. I've been practicing drawing more robots. Hang on, let's see if I can bring one up quickly.
I find robots interesting because, especially if they are truly mechanical representations, is how to get emotion out of something like that. So if you bring it down to the point where you cannot use the eyes for expression, you cannot use the mouth for expression, all you can use is posture, I think that's challenging.
Yeah, that's entirely doable. But I mean that's how Wall-E started. It was a challenge.
Yeah. And look at that, a robot that made you cry.
Yeah, I know, so good. So stuff like
love it.
Robots, stuff like this. It took a little while because I wanted the joints to be right, and I wanted things to look like they worked. Because I do not get me wrong, I love Transformers. I've loved them since I was about 4 years old. I've still got the original Optimus Prime around there somewhere. But it's like, even as a kid, it's like the whole kind of boxes just moving into boxes, like when they were just completely square. My artistic brain even then was like, no, I need something else. And so like with this, I redrew Bulkhead and changed it so like his arm joints make sense. He's got like a slight frame for suspension there.
Yeah.
Some E stuff.
Nice.
Let's bring in a Starscream.
Aha.
Let's see. I can't zoom into that because I'm just doing the thing. But yeah, you can see like the knee joint kind of makes sense. Let's bring that back over there. I'm trying to get my my bar away. Never mind. Yeah, and so like you've got shapes on like pistons and things and wires like providing power to the. This is actually based on like an old, not an old, but one of the kind of weapons that was on the bottom of a helicopter. So it's got the brace with like full working suspension and stuff.
Nice.
That's going to bug me. That's not moving. Move settings aside. There we go. They got rid of that.
There we are.
But yeah, robots are very, very good fun. They do still currently take me longer, but I tend to find the more I draw stuff, the more stuff stays in your memory.
No, I love that.
Oh, thank you.
It's good.
Yeah.
Kirsty's saying she still remembers Wally and Eva. In Studio B, there's a Wally and Eva on one of the shelves. See if you can spot it next time in Studio B.
Oh, it's really sad. I've got a broken Wally mug. I dropped some.
Lush.
It's really, really good, but you can see there's cracks down it. I had to glue it back together because I dropped a jar of coffee on top of it last week.
Oh.
Like, no. I mean, it kind of felt fitting for Wally to be broken and glued back together.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And sadly, he can't wheel himself back in and fix that crack. That's the thing. He hasn't got spares for that. But we are at time, my friend. We are. Mate, it's been so good to see you and spend this time with you. Really good.
Really
hopefully see you in person before too much longer. Yeah. But everybody here has really enjoyed it. Julia's saying, you guys made my day. Yeah, awesome. Everybody's really, really liking it. So it's been great having you here. Gonna have to rewatch it. Which is really good. So yeah, go ahead and do that. Yeah, it's the beauty of Adobe Live. You can get it all on demand. So great stuff. Fantastic stream. Thanks, says Oliver. So good, says Stuart. Thanks both, says Gareth. And that's it. So everybody, from David and myself, it is time for us to go. Don't forget, you can keep on going on the Discord. Tim will pop that into the chat once more for you. So you've got that. But David, thanks again, mate. Really good to see you.
It's been great to be here. I will join that Discord, by the way. Tim, you can send me a link and then I can join.
Absolutely, get you on in there. Yeah. All right. Take care, mate.
Love
See
it.
you later.
Thanks
Bye,
very much,
everyone.
Tony.
Have a good rest of your week.
Everybody.
See you Friday.
Have fun.